You see what I did to hers?
You're a
Right?
poot. Put it back. He stapled
stapled
it all
it.
wrong.
I put it all together. It stapled it on the backside.
She's like, you can't read like I'm doing.
She's going through 12 and 8. Gotcha.
You did.
Gotta have fun.
Okay.
Oh, that's funny.
Gotta have some fun.
Excuse me.
We are on.
All right.
Sorry we're late.
Yep. We've been.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, we are. So it was my fault, and I apologize. But okay, so we're going to start with verse 7, and this is where Isaiah is going to tell them their dealings with Assyrian army and the Israel and Judah going against Jerusalem, and it's you're fighting your own people. You know, think about it.
It's like fighting your own family.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly,
This
right?
is what we're doing right now. We're fighting our own people.
Right?
Yeah.
So, this is when Isaiah decides to tell him what the Lord is going to do. And the first part of this says, "Thus saith the Lord God, it shall not stand, neither shall it come to pass." Well, that is like, not just to cancel, but stamped, you're done, you're gone, right? So when he says, "Thus saith the Lord," the Lord Jehovah, meaning is a proper noun, a form of the Hebrew name of God used in some translation of the Bible. Its synonyms are God the Father, the Almighty, the supreme being, the deity. So if you notice that it said Lord is small and God is
Oh yeah, you talked about the capital Lord before.
right.
Mhm.
Okay. So the Creator and your Master are both together in this one. So if your Creator's against you, you're already in trouble. And if your Master of everything, you don't have any say so. Right? It's going to happen. Right?
You don't have the leg to stand.
You don't have leg to stand, right? And that's what it says in the next stanza. It says, "It shall not stand," right? "Thus the design shall not hold good, it shall not be accomplished." Rezin and Pekah have planned to set aside the issue of David, to which God has promised his throne. Okay? What they've decided is they're going to take over the house of David, the king Jerusalem, and they're going to rule everything.
Okay.
Nah. Right? 2 Samuel.
Got it.
I got.
Okay.
Oh, you got it.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
And have done ever since the time I appointed leaders over my people Israel. I will also give you rest from all your enemies. The Lord declares to you that the Lord himself will establish a house for you.
Mm-hmm.
When your days are over and you rest with your ancestors, I will raise up your offspring to succeed you, your own flesh and blood, and I will establish his kingdom.
Right. That's the kingdom
Oh,
of
I
David.
still got more reading.
Keep going. All right.
He, he is the one who will build a house for my name, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever. I will be his father, and he will be my son. When he does wrong, I will punish him with a rod welded by men, with floggings inflicted by human hands. But my love will never be taken away from him, as I took it away from Saul, whom I removed from before you. Your house and your kingdom will endure forever before me. Your throne will be established forever.
There you go.
Right. Right. And they think that they're just going to take that away. They didn't.
He said your house will be established forever.
That's Omega, isn't it? Alpha, Omega, till the end.
Forever.
Right?
So, did you want me to read Psalms?
Yes, if you got it real quick. I don't have to do the whole thing.
It's
It's
Psalms
10 verses.
89, 27 to 37. Yeah, but they're short.
Okay, all right.
I also will make him, my firstborn, the highest of the kings of the earth. My loving kindness will I keep for him forevermore, and my covenant shall stand fast with him. His seed also will I make to endure forever, and his throne as the days of heaven. If his children forsake my law, and walk not in mine ordinances, if they break my statutes and keep not my commandments, then will I visit their transgression with the rod, and their iniquity with stripes. But my loving kindness will I not utterly take from him, nor suffer my faithfulness to fail. My covenant will I not break, nor alter the things that is gone out of my lips. Once have I sworn by my holiness, I will not lie unto David. His seed shall endure forever, and his throne as the sun before me. It shall be established forever as the moon, and as the faithful witness in the sky.
Forever.
Forever.
So that part about statues,
Mhm.
look at
But
what's
that also
going on
says
right
that
now.
the moon in the sky, the moon will be here forever
Ever
too.
too. Mhm. It's not going away either, right? 1/3 of it just destroyed at the end times, but that's okay. 1/3 is, it'll still be there. All right, so, also he says, neither shall it come to pass. That's notwithstanding succeeding or going forward, it will not be accomplished, and it should not take footing. It's not gonna bear any fruit, right, no matter what they do, okay? And then verse 8 says, for the head of Syria is Damascus. Now we're getting a geographical lesson here, okay? And Damascus was, and the head of Damascus is Rezin, and within 65 years shall Ephraim be broken, that is, that it be not a people. Now, Ephraim is Jerusalem. He's sending out punishment because they're doing what? They're doing all the false idols and the gold chains and the fancy outfits, and they're worshiping idols, right? That's Ephraim, which is Jerusalem. It's interchangeable, right? So we have, he's saying Sirius is Damascus and Rezin is from Damascus, right? And within 65 years shall Ephraim be broken. That is not to be a people, right? Damascus was the metropolis of Syria, the chief city is in it, right? Where the king had his palace and he kept his court. And you find that even as far back as Genesis 15:2. And then also it's mentioned in Acts in the New Testament.
I've got Acts.
Okay. I got it.
Did you want me to do Genesis?
Do you have it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, thank you, hon.
He went to the high priest and asked him for letters to the synagogues in Damascus, so that if he found any there who belonged to the way, whether men or women, he might take them as prisoners to Jerusalem.
Who's gonna say yes?
Right.
Genesis 15:2. And Abram said, O Lord Jehovah, what wilt thou give me, seeing I go childless, and he that shall be possessor of my house is Eliezer of Damascus.
Of Damascus.
Mm-hmm.
Damascus had been established for so long.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's an old city. I mean, actually, if you really want to go back and trace it back, it was established in the 6-day creation. That's how far back it goes, okay? The people, the hunters and gatherers, formed a barrier to protect themselves against the animals, and that became the city of Damascus. And you can actually look at the archaeology on it, and it dates, some of the pottery dates back 6,000 years.
Syria's not around anymore, so Damascus isn't either, right?
Damascus is still a city, but it's not in Syria. It's not called Syria anymore. Right? Damascus is that would be
Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on
Iraq,
the
I
spot.
believe. Damascus, Syria. I'm trying to look in my head. I can't see the map. Anyway, it's still Damascus. The city of Damascus is still there.
Okay.
All right, it hasn't never disappeared.
Okay.
All right, so let's go on. The head, and within 65 years shall Ephraim be broken. Not from the time of this prophecy. That's what don't lock it into that, right? That being in the 3rd or 4th year of Ahaz, who reigned in all but 16 years, right? And in the 9th of the Hosea, king of Israel, and in the 6th of Hezekiah, king of Judah, Samaria was taken and Israel carried captive into Syria. That's where it is.
Okay.
It's not Syria, it's
I have 2
Assyria.
Kings 17:6.
Okay.
In the 9th year of Hoshea, the king of Assyria captured Samaria and deported the Israelites to Assyria. He settled them in Hala, in Gozan, on the Habor River, and in the towns of the Medes.
In the Medes, okay. So, Iraq, Iran. That's where that is now today, okay? So they were taken and moved up, right? All right, so, but Samaria was taken and carried captive into Assyria. All right, I think that's all that one, right? So 9 says, and the head of Ephraim is Samaria. Oh, there you go. And the head of Samaria is Remaliah's son. They didn't even give him a name. He's
Oh,
still being
yeah.
insulted, remember?
Yeah.
And it's just the old king's son. If ye will not believe, surely ye shall not be established. That's kind of like today, isn't it? Right? If you don't believe, you don't have grace. All right. So the head of Ephraim is Samaria. Samaria was the metropolis or chief city of Ephraim, or of the 10 tribes of Israel. So if you go back and you look at Ephraim, right? Joshua established that area for Moses after Moses, right? So it's been there a while, right? A couple thousand years. Right? All right, and the head of Samaria is Ramallah. Say it again. Remaliah's son, Pekah, son of Remaliah, was king of Samaria as of all Israel. Now we're talking about the area outside, right? And the sense is that until the 65 years were ended, there should be no enlargement of the kingdom of Israel. Judah should not be added to it. Samaria should continue, and not Jerusalem be the metropolis of it. Also, that Pekah during his life should be king of Israel, but not of Judah. So God is saying that He's going to separate and keep that separate and not make it any larger. Because when He established the king of David, He established the boundaries.
So you added his name, Pekah,
I did,
which is not in the Bible in this verse.
right?
So where did you find that?
When Isaiah was confronting them earlier, it's in the first part of the chapter. I don't know where I put it. Around here. Let's go back to. I'll give you where they're
I
located.
got the first part of the chapter.
Okay, it should say there when they were consulting against the house of David.
There you can take the
All
whole
right.
thing.
David says you got it from Pokemon.
No, not from Pokemon. Come on.
That works for me.
Pikachu. Huh? Is that where you're going?
I'm back.
Welcome back.
I'm glad.
You're right there. First verse. Resident king of Syria and Pekah the son of Remaliah.
Okay.
It's in the first verse if you want to verify it of the
I just
7th
wondered
chapter.
where you found his name.
I found his name. All right. So, if you will not believe, Ahaz, was anxious about the means of defense, but did not trust in the promise of God by the prophet. Now, what had happened here?
So Ahaz is worried about,
He defending the city, Jerusalem.
but he doesn't think that the prophet is telling him something that will help him, so he wants
Yes.
to probably do it a different way.
Yeah, not believe in God. He don't have any faith. He didn't believe that God would protect them, right? After He sent the prophet to tell him He would, right? So, he did not trust in the promise of God by the prophet. Wow. Surely ye will not be established. Isaiah therefore assures him that if he did not believe him, if he did not put confidence in God and His promises, he should not be protected from Syria and Ephraim,
That's right.
right? They would come and destroy his kingdom.
And we've seen that happen.
Coming.
And he's seen that happen.
Yes.
Yep.
Right?
Was it when they were were you talking about the walls of Jericho? And how
Yes.
They then were defeated by two smaller
A small little town,
Small
AI, right?
AI,
Yeah.
artificial intelligence.
They broke the covenant or the promises and the ordinance that God has laid down for them, and only one man broke it out of the whole tribe, the whole people,
Right,
and they all got punished for it.
right.
So, verse 10 says, Moreover, the Lord spake again unto Ahaz, saying, now, I put a note here. It's better said as Jehovah spake further, is what you'll find in some of the other translations of the
Let me put it to you another way.
way, right. The expression does not of itself imply that this second communication followed immediately on the first, but that it's certainly the most natural supposition. I'm sure that during when Isaiah met him at the in the field on the road at the upper spring, right, where the canals were gathering for the water supply, that's where he found him. God told him exactly where to go, right? He would have been with all of his consultants. The royal family would have been there with him. His ambassadors, his army chiefs of war, right? So Isaiah's like having to make his way to him, right? And now he's going to address him again. He says, "You need to listen," and and he's going to be Anyway, what goes on here, right? This communication, he wanted everybody to hear it, I guess is what I'm trying to get to, right? This would have been through Isaiah because God sent him directly to Ahaz. There's no doubt who told him what to say, because God even told him where he was at, right?
Right.
Isaiah was still in the temple at the time, right? So,
And Ahaz probably going, why should I believe you?
right. Well, remember he'd already persecuted a lot of the prophets already, and he gave them no time. He kicked them out of the courts. So he was already turning away from God, not listening to their counsel, right? So Isaiah is coming back, and he wasn't asked for. Ahaz hadn't sent for him. God said that.
And he didn't tell him where he was.
Right.
But he
So how
found
did he
him.
found him anyway, right? So he's like, this guy is on my back all the time. Well, I got a message from God. Might want to listen, right? Anyway, so verse 11 says, "And ask thee a sign of the Lord thy God. Ask it either in the depth or in the height above." Now, Isaiah is saying to the king, right? Ask thee a sign of the Lord thy God. For though Ahaz was a wicked man, yet the Lord was his God, and he was the God of the people of Israel in general, as a nation. And knowing this, his unbelief and defiance of his word unto him, offers to confirm it by a sign or a miracle. I'd like to have that opportunity, right? I need to be transported to Mars
He
for a
gave
few
him
minutes.
permission to test God.
To test
Yes.
him, yeah, to test himself.
To test his faith. And God would fulfill it, right? Ask anything you want, on the earth or in the sky. Because
Wow.
that's pretty amazing, isn't it? That's pretty amazing. Anyway, okay. So, ask it either in the depth or in the height above, either on that the earth might gape and open its mouth as in the days of Moses. Remember that, right? In Numbers 16:32, or the sun might stand still, right? As in the times of Joshua. That was Joshua 10:13.
Yep.
And you all know about the dead man might be raised out of the depths of the earth. All right, right? That was to come. And that there might be some strange appearances in the heavens. Now,
Like UFOs.
oh my
An
God.
eclipse.
Eclipse.
There we go.
Okay.
Right? The birth of his son, of God's son, Jesus,
Star of
was by
Bethlehem.
Star of Bethlehem, right? The alignment of the planets
I
created.
like UFOs better.
Yeah, you like the UFO.
Send me a UFO.
All right, we got Pokemon, we got Star Wars, we got UFOs
And eclipses.
and eclipses. Okay.
Total eclipse.
Okay. Anyway, right? So,
Really?
what did you say?
Of the heart. Totally eclipse of the
It's a
heart.
song.
That's
Okay.
exactly what I was thinking too.
That's why she smiled. Yeah. All right.
Already singing it.
All right. So, this is a pretty unlimited request, isn't it? If you think about it, right?
He said, ask anything.
Thing.
Yeah,
Right?
God said ask.
Yes,
So
It wasn't Isaiah.
Kind of have to obey orders.
you would think, right? Right. But 12 verse 12 starts out. You'll see at the bottom of the page. It says, "But Ahaz said, I will not ask, neither will I tempt the Lord."
Ah. There.
Well, it might cost him on that one. Now, note, there are two rejections of God by Ahaz here. The first is, "I will not ask," right? Ahaz, who has no wish for a sign because he has no wish to believe in any other salvation than flint, which will follow from the realization of his own schemes. because if he asked God to take care of it, then his deals with the other two armies fall through, doesn't it?
So then he knew that that was
Yes,
not
he
just
did.
some voice. Okay,
Because his spirit would have known.
right.
Okay.
Okay, what's salvation than Flint? That part I don't understand.
Any other salvation than Flint?
Yeah.
Or any other survival or Flint is like arrows, a fight, right?
Yeah, Flint.
Doesn't need God's help.
Right.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got it now?
Yeah, I got it now.
Okay. So in the second, it says, neither will I tempt the Lord. Now, Ahaz is a smart man. He's a wicked man, but he's a smart man. Believes he has found a plausible reason for declining to ask for one in the passages of the law which forbade men to tempt God, which
Yes.
was in Exodus 17:7 and Deuteronomy 6:16, and they read almost the same. Do not
Right.
tempt the Lord your God. That's what it says. Okay, so we're not to look those up. And to comply with the divine invitation for such a
Right.
sign. So by refusing Isaiah, he was refusing God as well. 2 times. Strike 2. And if
Three
he
strikes and you're done.
well, if he goes through with this battle, what'll happen?
The third strike.
Strike.
Third strike.
You're out.
Yeah. And right, 13 says, and he said, hear ye now, O house of David. Now this is Isaiah speaking for God. Is it a small thing for you to weary men, but will ye weary my God also? Now, that's an unusual phrase.
I get it.
You got it? Okay. All right. Now, when he says, hear now, O house of David, the prophet Isaiah no longer addresses himself to Ahaz singularly. Ahaz would not regard his words. He was ignoring him, right?
So Ahaz the man wasn't listening.
But it addresses the whole royal family of all whom he reproves. He's addressing and dressing them down. You know, maybe they might have some influence on him as being the king's counselors and promoting the design of sending for the Assyrians in the time of distress and hardship, instead of relying on God in times of pandemics. We're relying on man, right? Yeah. Anyway, that's basically what's going on. Is it a small thing for you? It's not that wickedness more than enough that you've already done. You've already denied God what? Twice? Right? Must you add more to it is what he's saying. Right? And then to weary men is to cause distress to God's prophets and people, and the generality of your subjects with your oppressions and your hoard impieties. In other words, your plans for war. Who's that going to harm the most? Not the king.
Yeah.
He's going to be
His men are probably thinking, knowing that they're going to go into battle and it's a losing battle.
It's a losing battle,
Right.
right? But he's going to
And he
force them.
doesn't care.
He doesn't care because of the deals he's already made with the other kings, right? So, will ye weary my God also by your cursed ingratitude and unbelief and disobedience to his commands? Will ye weary my God also? Are you going to ignore him also? This
Sad
that's a
enough
pretty
that you don't care about your men.
men,
You don't care about God either.
God either, right?
Wow.
Isaiah's calling him out, right?
Not just him though, the whole house.
No, he's talking to
Right.
everyone there, the counselors, everybody,
Isn't there
right?
anybody here that understands what's going on here?
Right.
Right? So I'm gonna put a note here. It said, in that verse, it said, Isaiah said, my God. Did you notice that? He immediately took what?
Took it away from him.
He took it away from him and the royal family. All right. It's probably hers vibrating or buzzing or something.
No, I'm pretty sure it says.
Okay. Okay. So, the God whose servant and prophet or messenger I am, intimate that his heinous offense was not committed against a weak and foolish man, such as they might think the prophet to be. Because he's been blessed by God and forgiven, right? Given grace. But God himself who sent the message. And that's in, you can compare Exodus 16:8.
You want to read it?
Yeah, do you have it?
Won't take but a second.
You got it right there.
Second sub.
No, it's not. It's almost
I got it.
Nuclear second.
nuclear. Yeah, that can be forever.
It's a government second.
Oh, it's a
Same time.
Same time frame.
frame.
Go ahead, dispute that one. Moses also said, "You will know that it was the Lord when he gives you meat to eat in the evening and all the bread you want in the morning, because he has heard your grumbling against him. Who are we? You are not grumbling against us, but against the Lord."
Lord. You're defying the God. You're not defying
I
me.
remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Isaiah says it's not me personally. You know? So Isaiah immediately says, I'm out of the picture.
Right.
Right? 14. And it says, therefore the Lord himself shall give you a sign. Now this is pretty amazing. Behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son and shall call his name Emmanuel. 730 years before his birth. That's amazing if you think about it.
And this is,
What? This is Isaiah. Yeah.
no, go ahead.
No. What were you saying?
This
I-
is predicting
I don't
the
even
birth
know.
of Christ.
Yeah.
From the house of David.
I was just gonna say, this was planned
Way.
yeah.
as a result of this.
Yes.
Yep.
That's significant.
Yes. That was the point that God decided, I think he decided, it's my interpretation, that he was tired of man. So he was going to have to figure out a way that man couldn't use the laws against him and give salvation without flint.
So that he could figure out a way how they couldn't say, neither will I tempt
Tempt
the
the
Lord.
In other words, he wouldn't have to deal with lawyers.
Right?
Yeah.
Or counselors,
Pretty much.
Or government people.
or government.
Pretty much. Publicans,
I'm a government employee, I can say that.
Pharisees, Sadducees, publicans,
All of
kings,
it, right?
Mm-hmm.
all that
Completely.
shenanigans,
Bypassed them
and
all.
give grace back.
Yes. Because of this, because what was happening here is he knew that they continued with this plan, they would lose the house of Israel, Jerusalem and Israel and Judea. They were going to lose it all the promised land, right? So, like, okay. Anyway, let's go on. Therefore is a big thing there. And since you will not ask, is what he's saying.
Mm-hmm.
A pledge that the land shall be safe. He could have asked for that, right? He said a miracle, didn't he?
Right.
Right?
All he had to do is
Defeat
say,
all of our enemies,
defeat our enemies, exactly.
right? God will furnish one unasked, is what he says. That's what therefore means, right? Note that a sign or proof is desirable in this case. Now God will not withhold because a proud and contemptuous monarch refuses to seek it. He says, I just overruled you. Who's really in charge? Think about it. Your arrogance, no, you're nothing to me, right? So, oh, you can look at that
You
one?
got Isaiah.
No, I'm going back to, I like to follow it in my book.
Okay.
No.
So, I put a note in the Hebrew language, it can be read like this also. Nevertheless, as this particular seems to be understood, nevertheless, therefore, nevertheless, I'm done with you. It actually dismisses the Ahaz and his royal family. It's just what he's doing. He's like, God's like, yeah, I'm going to do it for my people, right? So, in Isaiah 30:18 later in this book of Isaiah, and Jeremiah 16:30 also says the same thing. Nevertheless, this is going to come to pass no matter what you do.
Right.
Nevertheless.
Interestingly enough, this is from the King James Version, right?
Yes.
The way it's written.
Mm-hmm.
The New International Version did not change a single
Oh, good.
word
There you go.
of that.
That's amazing. That's good. And it means also, although you deserve no sign nor favor,
Right.
I'm going to give you one anyway, right?
Because it's not about you. It's,
It's
about
not.
the promise
That's
I made to
it.
David.
What he's doing is what he's preserving that remnant of the chosen people,
Mm-hmm.
and he has to give them a sign, right? But that sign is also going to do what? Save the world.
Yes.
Yeah, the amplified one just makes sure that you
Yeah.
know for sure that it's Jesus, because it says, therefore the Lord himself will give you a sign. Listen carefully. The virgin will conceive and give birth to a son, and she will call his name Emmanuel, and then in parentheses, God with us.
Yes. Right. And I go into
They
that.
just add that it's the virgin. It's not just any kid born, So.
Right. Now, so when you
I guess
break
it
that,
says virgin over here too.
yeah,
It
right.
does.
It says
Yeah.
here too.
The Lord himself shall give you a sign.
Mm-hmm.
Now, yet for the comfort of those few believers which are among you, this is what he's saying, right? And to leave you without excuse. There is no excuse after he was born, was it? He
There
died
is
for
no
them?
excuse.
There's no excuse, right? I shall mind you or another or a greater sign which God hath promised. He's saying, no matter what you would have asked, I've just upped the ante. There's something you can't even imagine yet, is what he's saying, right? And will in his due time perform this, what he's prophesied, okay? You see? Is he catching up with you? Okay. You got a question?
No.
Okay.
I'm reading.
Okay, which also is a pledge of the certain accomplishments of all of God's promises, right? When God says he's going to do something, it comes to pass, period, right? Like, as you read earlier, right? And that's in, or it can be said as surely, as this particle is sometimes used as in Genesis 4:15 and Jeremiah. It's God doesn't go back on his word or his promises or his covenants or his commandments. They still exist today, okay? I like the word behold, right? I think it says, I think it's in that, I think I'm on the previous verse, right?
Behold.
Yes, behold, that's the word. Behold, hene in Hebrew is pronounced hene. I actually looked that one up and then played it on my computer so I could hear how to say it. It's the only one I remembered. Right? It's a very common one in the Old Testament. It is used to arrest attention, to indicate the importance of what was about to be said. It served to designate persons and things, places and actions, or anything which especially demanded attention. Right? So Isaiah would have done what? He would have proclaimed it. Right?
I just keep thinking of Linus.
Yeah. That's Isaiah, right? As you're talking about.
In Charlie Brown Christmas.
Yeah.
Yep. Behold.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's it.
I have
Okay.
that down to the side.
All right. That's pretty good, right? So you guys can visualize that one, right? Okay. And it's all through Genesis there, you know. And if Genesis is that whole section 129, 18, 16, 12, even through 40, is all about, he says, behold my God. And when Moses is asking for assistance, he says, behold, this is what God is going to do for you or for his people, right? They parted the Red Sea, you know, they got water from a rock, you know. So anyway, all right, so the phrase a virgin there, right? This word properly means a girl, maiden, a virgin, a young woman who is unmarried and who is of marriageable age. Anyway, the word here translated virgin is applied to Rebecca in Genesis, right? 24:3, and to Miriam, that's Moses' sister, right? In Exodus. So what I did was I just verified that the translation hadn't been changed from the Hebrew. It stayed constant, right? It still meant the same thing. Now in this
Even
time
though
period,
it says in some of these the virgin,
yeah,
whereas this one says a virgin.
a virgin, right?
So
right.
that was basically confirmation that,
Yes,
yes,
yes.
when they talk about virgins, this
Right.
is what they mean specifically.
Well, and if you go, when you say the virgin, it's a group, or it could be anyone in the group. But when God says a, he's already selected that person. Even
Really,
whether
it seems to me it would be the other way around.
no, the is a general term. A is specific.
What about the man?
No, that's okay. If you look at it, the man, right?
Which is Adam.
Adam,
Mhm.
after the other creation of man. So it's when you have one and then you go to the next, it becomes the person. God is saying this before it occurs.
Okay,
Is that
so they're not using it as a title.
not as a title, right?
Got it.
Right.
Okay.
Not as a title. Okay. But he's very specific about it too, right? I put in there a little note. It occurs only in 7 places in the Old Testament. A virgin.
Psalms.
All right. And then, besides those already mentioned, they found in Psalms, Solomon,
Wait, Psalm 68:25.
okay, you wanna read it?
No, Solomon 1:3.
Okay,
Solomon 6:8. In
Right.
case anybody's following along.
okay, right. And then in Proverbs 30:19, it is used in its obvious natural sense to denote a young, unmarried female. So even in the prophecies of Proverbs, right? You wanna read that one? That one I would read. It's a little different.
You have to find Proverbs.
You want me to do it?
You could probably find it faster than me. You probably already have it over there, huh?
I
Did you have it?
Proverbs.
Okay.
I got it. Go ahead.
Is there one after that?
Proverbs, which
30,
chapter?
While we're
30,
looking.
30?
19.
Genesis 16:11.
And then verse
No,
19?
I know where Genesis,
Yes.
right in the beginning, 16:11.
Mhm.
That's easy. Okay, got it.
The way of an eagle in the air, the way of a serpent upon a rock, the way of a ship in the midst of the sea, and the way of a man with a maiden.
Yeah.
Which obvious natural sense to denote a young unmarried female.
Unmarried female, right. Right, it's match, it.
Interestingly enough, in mine it says young woman, so that does
Okay.
not denote,
Right,
but a maiden does.
a maiden does, yes. Okay, so we have to kind of analyze the language that's being used, right? Hebrews is a pretty amazing language, it's hard to.
There's a whole, in the Amplified, they have a whole page, 2
Dedicated
pages
to-
dedicated to the word virgin.
Yes.
Because it says that in here,
Okay,
it's the Hebrew word Alma,
Right.
A-L-M-A-H.
there's 2, yeah,
And Matthew uses the word Parthenos, which is Greek,
Greek, right,
and the latter, so the one Matthew uses unambiguously is a virgin, no doubt,
okay.
while the Alma, however you say it,
Mm-hmm.
has been said to be referred to as just a young woman.
Right,
In contrast, the Hebrew word Bethalula, which is equivalent to the Greek Partho, it's also been noted that the Septuagint, the Greek translation
Greek
of the
translation.
Hebrew,
Subsequent.
has Parthenos here for Alma, and that Matthew 1:23 is taken from the Septuagint. Some have wondered why the Septuagint translators used a more specific word, Parthenos,
yeah,
and then they say it's fair to say that this question is a result of oversimplifying the vocabulary and misinterpreting the distinction. The Hebrew words Alma and Bethula can actually refer to the same kind of woman. Alma is a youthful woman of marriageable age,
right,
one who has not yet had her first child, while Bethulia is one who has not yet been touched in an intimate way. Furthermore, in present context, it would be unthinkable to infer that a woman might have had sexual relations outside of marriage. So the well-known translation of young woman for Alma, while technically not incorrect, can be viewed as too ambiguous for the Hebrew word in the context. Parthenos
Yeah,
was an
Parthenos.
appropriate choice in the Greek.
Mhm.
And then it goes on, there's another word, kor, which means for girl, could have been used, blah, 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 so,
yeah.
um,
So it's very
Very-
specific is what you're getting to.
yeah.
And the Greek actually translated it correctly,
They
Parthenos.
researched probably that word,
that word, and had a specific,
and
to match the Hebrew word.
yes,
Because they didn't want it to get
misinterpreted.
misinterpreted or to be changed by interpretations.
To just be some young girl
Right.
that's married.
Yeah, because some young girl, even married, is still a young girl, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anybody
Then it
could
wouldn't
say,
be a big
right, because it could just be her husband's child.
miracle.
Right. Now, and God had already planned it out, right? For him to be the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords,
Mhm.
he had to be in the priest line.
And it
Right.
had to be a pure.
So that virgin had to be from the priest line.
Mm-hmm.
to him to be born under that lineage
Mm-hmm.
from the house of David.
Yep.
Right?
Very interesting.
Yeah, it's amazing how it does. And this is 700 years before.
Right.
I'm glad somebody wrote it down. Okay.
Well, obviously,
It was that important, right? Now, I like the fact that it shall conceive and bear a son, because this was a clear demonstration of God's infinite power.
Right. How could a virgin conceive?
The same phrase is in Genesis 16:11. Do you have that one, Chet?
Yes, I do.
I'm gonna see.
The angel of the Lord also said to her, "You are now pregnant, and you will give birth to a son. You shall name him Ishmael, for the Lord has heard of your misery."
Now, that was with Abraham,
Mm-hmm. No, Sarah, right?
right, Sarah, right? All right, and then in Judges 13:5. You remember
Got
that?
it.
Okay, thank you, Hannah. Okay. All right, he's getting tired. Okay.
Judges.
Be careful.
13,
5.
5. For lo, thou shalt conceive and bear a son, and no razor shall come upon his head, for the child shall be a Nazarite unto God from the womb,
Samson.
and he shall begin to save Israel out of the hand of the Philistines.
And he's not allowed to.
Saving Israel again.
mm-hmm,
You see the theme?
Grapes.
mm-hmm,
Abraham, the father of Israel,
mm-hmm.
the people. Samson saving Israel. God saves, Jesus comes to save Israel, and they reject him, so that he can save the world,
Mm-hmm.
right? So anyway, I thought that it's pretty amazing. The next part of it, it says "shall call." Now, most people pass over that, so I looked it up, and what it means is that she shall. The mothers often name their children, right?
Yes,
Today they do.
right, but not then.
Okay, that is a further evidence of virginity that her son had no human father. That was the miracle. That was the sign, right? But because the right of naming the child, which is primarily in the husband, because he follows at that time period, it was the men that owned and
His name is John.
right, okay, all right, and in the wife only by consent or permission. Now, let's go back and think
That's how
about this.
Tanya got her name.
Okay. Pretty much, yeah. All right, think about this, right? Our she was betrothed to, I can't think of his name right now. Jesus' earthly stepfather. Joseph, right?
Yes, Joseph.
Joseph, that's the one I couldn't think, just wouldn't come, right? And she was already pregnant, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he took care of her,
Mm-hmm.
took her to Bethlehem, had the birth and everything, and he had yet not known her,
Right.
okay? So,
Yeah, what do you have to do?
he
We have to hold on.
it wasn't even the husband yet.
Right.
Yeah, because the only way they consummated a marriage back then was.
Right.
Consummation.
Mhm.
Yes.
You know,
Right.
nothing.
And he wasn't the husband, so he couldn't give her permission. And he couldn't name the child.
Because it wasn't.
Well, an angel gave him permission
Yes,
to
he-
name the child.
Yeah.
Yes, he said, and you shall call,
You shall call him.
right? But it was told that she would
already
say.
to her when
to
she
her,
got when they conceived her.
when it was conceived, the angel told her, and then had to go tell Joseph it was okay.
Yeah, when they went and had the counseling session with Joseph.
Right.
It's okay. Yes, your fiance is pregnant.
It's okay.
She didn't sin.
It's a
God.
It's a holy
Yeah.
one, right?
Right.
And you need to take care of this child because
Yep.
it's God's child.
Right.
Step up.
Yeah. Say
Right.
no. Say no. I
Yeah.
dare you.
But it's wholly appointed to her to do that naming, okay? By their laws and by God, okay? Now, the word Emmanuel, which signifies, like you said earlier, Dave, God with us, right? Or God dwelling amongst us is in our nature. That's in John 1:14. Okay.
I got it.
Oh, sure. I can do it. I just didn't go there yet.
John.
Yeah,
trying to figure out when's a good
One.
time to stop.
Pretty quick.
After verse 15, I think, is when his thing said it transitioned.
Right.
So
Mine
what,
says
I'm
after
sorry,
17.
115, 114.
114, yeah.
I even forget what I was.
114.
I can't listen.
And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, glory as of the only begotten from the Father, full of grace and truth.
Right.
I'm feeling a lot like Christmas right now.
Right, doesn't it?
Actually, this is probably a good place to stop.
Okay. Yeah, because
Because
it
then it
changes.
gets into.
What he will be like.
And what'll happen and what he
what's
has to
gonna-
go through.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, right here, it says trials to
Well,
come
no,
for
that's
Judah.
at 17.
Yeah, mine is at 17 as well.
Right.
Yeah, but 15 and 16 is changing over to.
Right.
And plus, I'm sure there's a lot of study in
Yes.
those two verses.
Yes. There's a lot there.
Because it took me a few times of reading and without reading that to go,
Yes.
I don't know what they're talking about.
Right, to figure it out, to discern it, right?
Romans come around.
Today's the 4th, right?
Yes.
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 So
Today is the
8/18
4th.
then.
Yeah, on the 18th, we'll have the next one.
Yes.
Next week is,
Board meeting?
Board meeting.
Yes.
By
Yes.
phone.
by phone.
By
Yes,
phone.
by
Yes.
phone.
Oh,
Because
yes.
they
We
will
won't
be
be
out
here.
of town.
Oh.
Well, yeah, we can Zoom or.
Yeah, we'll have our computer, huh? We can
Don't get a
FaceTime.
lead foot.
Yeah, we can FaceTime. Huh?
Don't get a lead foot. You said Zoom.
Oh, yeah.
Ah.
Bad butt, bad butt.
Hey,
I
Dave,
could use Microsoft Teams.
I want you to do me a favor, though.
Do a flavor.
No, a favor. I want you to take some time on the next week or two, right? And go over to the school here on the other side.
Is
And,
there somebody here now?
yes,
Cool.
there's kids here and there's,
I gotta
the
come
new,
up with
the new lady is brand new. I mean, brand new. But she's very responsive
let us get
to
in- we gotta
find
pray
out
out
and get
really
things
quick.
done.
Okay,
Okay,
that's
right.
all
Pray now,
online.
pray now.
Okay.
We need to
Let's
pray out and
Right.
turn off.
Lord Heavenly Father, we thank you for the Bible study, Lord. We thank you for the food that Chet brought. Give him extra special blessings. And be with us as we go home this evening. And traveling mercies for Dan and Sherry. And let them enjoy the cooler weather. And what else? Am I good?
Traveling mercies for mom and dad and the boy
Prayers for the
that's
boy.